Okay, everybody. So I want to just do a download progress bar tutorial. A lot of people like to upload progress bars, so I figured I'd do one like a download progress bar, like streaming with Hono.js, like a backend like download route for files, and how to use our streaming plugin to stream like big files to the front end and allow people to download them. It works a little different than traditional downloads in that the browser will download it to its memory space first and then download it to the hard drive, but you can make these cool little progress bars with it. So I'll show you real quick. I'm going to click the download and what it does, and we'll get a progress, and you'll see like we get this big 300 megabyte file that will download after this finishes. So this is downloading from the Hano backend first, and then it's going to save it to our hard drive. And the save part actually happens real quick. So there's really not too much of a big difference in like traditional downloads where the browser will handle it for you, but now you can kind of take control of that and stream that data first and then save it to your hard drive. And you can see we got this some big file here. So, and it's 350 megs. So I don't know if you can see that there, but this is what we're going to be building. Um, so let's actually get right into it. So on the back end, or actually I'll show you the front, what like kind of what it is real quick. So here's the front end. Like that's what we want to do on the front end, and we're going to take care of this back end, and I'll show you the API and stuff. So I have pretty much everything built with Hano and stuff. This is our front end right here, where you can see like the progress bar. We have a progress and a status that we're seeing right here, and all we're doing is calling a handle download function that's going to call this function, and we're going to build this out in React right here. On the back end, all we have is a quick little Hano server that's set up to like listen, okay, over to HTTPS with like a Pinot logger here, and some cores, and then we have this download route right here. So this right here. So we're going to just emit an error response first, and take it from there. We'll cause an error to happen first just to make sure everything's going to work in that regard and that we're hitting our route. So let me stop this server, and you can see what this is, the Pinot logger when we hit our route there. So I'm going to clear this. And then the API that we're going to run is this one right here. So we can say like Node API. Okay. So I have an example API set up, and then this is the development API, and we should be able to get this error response first. So on the front end, it's just a very simple React app with this home thing right here. Okay. So this is what you're seeing right here. Okay. So let me recompile the front end with the one that we're going to be building. Okay, actually, in my app, we're gonna take this one, this example one, we'll take this out of here and set up our example, like the one we're gonna be building. Okay, so, okay, now that we have that set up, let's go into here and start filling this out. So when somebody like clicks this button here, we basically, we're gonna set download started, right? So you'll see here we have set download started. Okay, so let's actually start filling this out so that we can make a download basically. Okay, so the very first thing we're going to want to do is create like what file that we want. So we can say const file name is going to equal some big file dot zip, right? And you can see that like we're hitting this path right here, this API slash download path. And that's what this is right here, like your API slash download. And the plugin we're going to be using is this Hono streaming. Okay, so Hono streaming. So just if you use Hono, it's definitely look into their streaming plugin right here. And you can see that right here, this stream helper. Okay, Hono streaming. So let's keep going with that. Back end, front end, Hono streaming. All right, so we'll just do a try here, and then we'll do a catch. Okay, we'll say error. We can just console logger error right now, or we can set like to our, we'll just say console log the error, and then we'll say set status to something went horribly wrong. Okay, if not, and this is our status right here. See download stream API example, and then when we click it, download started. All right, so, and if there's an error like right off the bat, we get something went horribly wrong. So we're going to be using like the fetch API, and we want to we're going to basically give it a URL with some options. So we'll say const response is going to be fetch this URL and these options. So here's our options up here. We're going to do a get with like cores and no cache. And you can add headers if you want to, like for protection or like a cookie or whatever you want to do. This is just an open route right now. But there's our URL. So our URL and our options are going to go into here and then here. Okay. So if it's a JSON response, like if we get an error response that's JSON, let's actually set, we'll set the content type response headers, like get content type, right? If this content type right here is JSON, we'll try to get that JSON out of the response, and then we'll set our status to that JSON right there. So that we see this error response right here. Okay, so now that we have that, let's just test our error response from our route to make sure that our front end can actually talk to our route and provide at least an error as a JSON stringified error. Okay, so and you'll see in here on our back end what we have is just this little error response right here. It's just going to take a message, like we can send in like this message right here, and we'll use this error response function right here to just send a message back and an alternate message if you want to. It'll attach that there. If not, just send a message to the front end. Okay, and that's all we're going to do right now is return this error response from our route. So I'm going to restart our server, and we'll go click to download and see if and we'll also see with Pinot Logger the request coming in. But let's see if we get this download failed message on the front end from our route. Okay, so we also need to recompile our front end as well. So npm run build. So let's do that. Make sure we have no errors down here. Okay, and we'll just refresh this. Okay, so now we have this download stream example. I'm going to click download, and you'll see like we get this success false message, download failed, right? So over here we can check our backend, and you see this right here, download 200 requests completed. Okay, so that's coming from here, download failed. That's all of that message there. Okay, now we can keep moving forward and actually get our download going. So real quick, I'm going to show you like where this is coming from. In our backend over here, we have this downloads folder with some big file.zip, which is 350 megs, and that's what we want to access, right? So let's actually set our backend up first to handle that download. So we'll, instead of returning an error response, what we're going to do on our backend is this. So we could say try, and we'll just like, we just catch this error here, and if we have an error, we'll do this, return this here. Okay. Now let's get this out of here, and what we'll do here is this. So we're gonna say let file name equal, okay, let's put an underscore under this one. I guess we don't have to there. So we'll say let file name equal some big file, right? Like we have those dashes in there. So some big file.zip. I'm going to say let path equal, or actually like download path, it should be let download path equal dev.com/backend downloads, right? So, and then we'll just add some big file right in here, some big file. You'll see why like I don't attach these two together. Like I'm just going to keep these two separate, and this is the absolute path of the file. I really just need this like to show you where this gets put into the headers. But you could separate this path and then attach these two. Okay, so we have some big file here as the absolute path to this, okay, and just the file name for the content headers. Okay, so what we want to do now is actually log some stats. So we have we're going to bring in promises, path, and be able to get like some stats from a file. So we can say, let's just see what those are. Like we're going to need so we'll say const wait fsp, which is using the promises one, fsp node promises. We want to get the stats of a file, so we'll say stat, and we'll send in our download path here. Okay, so let's do this. We'll just return an error response for now so we get something on the front end. So let's take this, and then see if we get this this printed out right here, like from that file. Okay, so I'm gonna clear this. All right, I just want to see what these stats are here. Oh well, we should console.log stats. Okay, let's do that. Clear this. Okay, so refresh this and we'll hit download here. Okay, and now you can see that we have all of these stats in here. And the one we want is this size right here, okay? So that we can send that into the streaming API headers so that the front end knows how much we're supposed to have, and then like we can get like the pieces from it, okay? So I'm gonna clear this, and then we'll keep going. It says sending this error and console logging our stats. We'll keep filling out our backend here, okay? So we want to create a file stream, and that's gonna look like this, okay? So we're going to use fs and create a read stream from our download path here. Now that we know that we can access that path correctly and get the file size from it, you'll see we're just using fs. Okay, so we want to return a stream, okay, and that is going to take the C value from here, okay, and we also want to make that async and grab a writer. All right, so there we go. That's all we need is a return stream. And this stream is coming from here, that Hono API streaming plugin. So now we can stream using Hono, okay? So we'll pop this over here. And we'll create 3 headers. Okay. Oops. And we also want this one right here. So we have 3 headers. And we're also going to make a content disposition header with that file name in there. So we have this file name up here, but I'm going to take this out of here. Okay, so there we go. So we have file name in here, and we have file name here. Okay. Okay, and all we have to do from there is actually just kind of like await chunks and write those chunks out to the front end, and our back end is actually done. So that's all you have to do to really like chunk a file and stream it to the front end with Hono and its streaming plugin. It's actually pretty awesome. Of course, you would normally have like protection in here, checking cookies, or like your middleware that checks cookies and validates requests. Unless it's an an open API where anybody can download those files, you create a progress bar on the front end that shows like how much you've downloaded. So our backend is done. This is it. That's all you really need. I'm going to shrink this up a little bit so that we can kind of just, I'll scroll down through it. And you'll see, and this is Penalogger. Penalogger is pretty cool, but that's all you really need to get the backend up and running. And we have one route, our download route right there. And that's all it does is it grabs this big file and streams it to the front end. So now all we have to do is finish our front end to grab those chunks and show the progress of those chunks that it's grabbed. So let's continue that. Okay, now what we just already did was say if there's an error on the back end, it's going to come over as a content type JSON, and we're going to display that in our status right here as just a JSON string, right? We've seen that it works. Now what we want to make work is the actual grabbing of the chunks and display the progress of that. So we are going to start with this. Okay, we're going to say if the response is okay, we want to do something, right? And then if the response is not okay, we'll do this. Okay, if the response is not okay, just set this status error with the download stream API. Okay, so technically we can actually test this part out here by shutting our server off. So let's actually build our front end now that we have that, make sure everything's going to work, and all we have to do is fill in these 2 parts. But if our backend is off, technically we should see this error right here when we click our download button, if it's not okay or no body. So API is off. We'll go refresh this and we'll hit our download button, and you can see error with this download stream API, right? So that's that right there, this error with the download stream API. So all we have to take care of now is this, really. Okay, now we're going to do 3 things. Okay, first, right off the bat here, We're gonna get the content length. Okay, if it's in the header, remember we set this content length right here, and on our back end, that's what this content length header is here, and we use our stats from up here to get the size of the file that we want, and we just kind of two-stringed it because it takes a string in there for the size. So on our front end, we're grabbing that content length size. Now our front end will know how big is this, and then like what's the total that we're getting, because we're streaming. Remember, we're getting multiple little chunks at a time, so we know from our content length how much we should be getting. Okay, and we're just going to read the response into our reader there. All right, so now we can actually say like let received equals 0, and then we'll have chunks in our array here. Okay, all right, now this will look a little funny, but we'll do a while loop. So I'm going to explain this here. So we're going to say while true, we'll say, I hate when I zoom in, it does weird things. So while true, let's just keep on reading. If done, we'll set our status to download complete and break this while loop. Okay, if it's not done and there's still more to read, we're going to just push a chunk to our chunks right here, and let's set our progress, and we'll say how many. We'll push our chunk to this chunks here, and then set our receive value to plus equals a value dot length, and that should be in this value here. Okay, from this read value, it knows how much we received. So the total, we're just going to set the progress right here. So if you look up here, we have this little progress right here in React. With this use state, it's set to 0. And all we're doing is just rounding it to the nearest 1 or 0, so we don't have a decimal there. And we're saying set the progress to whatever that is, 30%, 40%, 50%. Okay, you could add this console log thing here if you wanted to, download received. But yeah, we'll take a look at that. We'll leave that there. That won't affect anything. But this progress right here is using Ratex UI. So I use Ratex UI. You can see this Ratex UI thing here with this flex box progress, and that's what these icons are coming from. So real quick, if you don't know what Ratex UI is, it's this right here. You can go to documentation. We'll just look up progress. Okay, and that's all of this is right here. So we're just saying box and progress, and I'm setting, you'll see like a value in there. So this value right here is all we're seeing right here. Value progress, set progress. Okay, so with that though, once we have like, so we'll say after the browser downloads the file, we need to save it to hard drive. Okay, so that's what this is. So that's why it's a little different than traditional downloads. You need to save it to the hard drive after the browser has, like, you've kind of manually controlled the download from the server. Now we need to save it. So it saves it to the browser's like memory space. So what we're gonna do is this kind of thing. So actually I could just kind of, it's not too much stuff, I'll explain what it is, but this is it. This should actually complete this. So now download to the file system. Now that we have all of these chunks saved and we're setting our progress, we want to save that to the file system. So we're going to create a fake link basically, and programmatically click that download link and that tells the browser to save all that chunk data to the file system. So you can see that here. So create an element A. All happens in the background. You don't actually see it. And then we'll say like the file name here is like the a.download, just style none, and we'll just append that to the document, run a click on it, and then remove that and remove the blob to URL. Okay, so this blob takes these chunks right here, and it creates like a URL that's kind of loadable, right? Like it's a downloadable URL blob, create object URL blob. So, and we're attaching that to this hidden aref, and then and that's it. So we're saying like when they do download, we're setting it to this file name here, which is up here. So we set like this const file name here, right? So in theory, what's going to happen now is our front end. Let's go compile this. is going to request that big file from the backend. It's going to download it to its memory space and then create a fake link and download that blob to the hard drive. So that's how we can track the progress of downloads and show it to the users. And that should complete the project. But let's give it a test out and see what happens. We'll go start up our backend here. So we'll say Node API running on 1300. This is all it is right here, and we'll see if this actually works. Okay, so here we go. Let's go refresh this, and we'll click download. So download started, and there it goes, and then you should see it pop in up here. So it's collecting big chunks. It's streaming that big file from the back end, and there's 350 megabytes. So that's it. I figured I'd show it because I had to do it in a project the other day, and I thought it was a cool one. Because you do upload progress bars, why not do a download one?